Hi, it's Henry Camp. Back in 2016, I made a presentation to the Theory of Constraints International Certification Organization about how do you manage people so that they want to work, so that they give you what you need. And I made an addendum at the end of the presentation that was longer than the presentation itself. So I didn't present it at the time, but I'm going to drag you through it now. This is a message to managers everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're a top manager, a middle manager, or a supervisor, doesn't matter. This applies to you. This is about how to get it right with your people. So let's dig into it and see what we come up with. This is a breakthrough, by the way. This is something that's been struggling for years. I've read a lot of literature and it shows this struggle over and over again. So let's dig into it, see if we can learn something that nobody else knows. It might be a nice competitive advantage. And let's hope that everybody gets onto it and it stops being a competitive advantage and instead our workplaces are just better places. Then we'll be able to do, as Simon Sinek calls, the infinite game and just blow it up from there. Here we go. So how to incent people? So let's establish a little bit of context here by expressing the goal of a company. And I'm going to call it the company's thriving. You can call it whatever you want. Make up your own goal if you want, but you have some aspirations for the company. And I'm saying the company's thriving. And what I mean by that is sales are going up, profits are continually increasing, and I've got less and less complexity. In other words, as I grow the company, it becomes easier to run, not more difficult to run. And there's harmony amongst the employees. Sounds good. So, what is a necessary condition to meet the goal? So let's try this. Doesn't it follow that if employees contributed more, that would help the company survive? If so, then get better work from employees would be a good way to articulate that. And we can check our logic by saying that in order that the company is thriving, it's necessary to get better work from employees. So this is how we read this cloud structure. And it sounds about right to me. But such a sentence includes our understanding based on our underlying assumptions. So as not to be too lazy, let's articulate those assumptions. In order that the company is thriving, it's necessary to get better work from employees because explains our assumption or assumptions, right? So as the work output and quality increase, the company provides more value to its customers. And we say the whole thing out, and I'll go through this. I won't do it every time, but I'm going to go through it pedantically this time. In order that the company is thriving, it's necessary to get better work from employees because as work output and quality increase, the company provides more value to customers. And this connection to me seems strong enough. If we infer that we've got to explain to prospective customers how much we offer, or they hear about it by word of mouth, however it is. But we have to assume that the message gets out somehow, because otherwise you could hide your light under the basket, nobody ever notices, and nothing happens. But we have to make it happen so that we get more sales to more and more customers over time. So I assume the word gets out. Now, what else do we need to thrive? What if we hire the best people in the world and pay them more than anybody else does? That might result in losses, you say, because losing money is certainly not thriving. We might not like this idea quite as much. So we need a balancing condition to deliver more value. And let's try this one. What if we improve financial performance? We get better work and improve the financial performance, both at the same time. So in order that the company is thriving, it's necessary to improve its financial performance because the better the company's financial performance, the greater its value, making more investment and growth possible. Okay. Now you see that both conditions must be met. And more than that, anything that diminishes either need even a little bit diminishes the degree to which we achieve the goal. So let's drop because statements that we've got on here so far, because I think the diagram's about to get busy, because I know what's coming and you don't. So there they go. Now the question becomes how. How do we achieve these necessary conditions? So let's start on the top. Let's begin with getting better work. And a tried and true method is to pay for performance. So what if we measured each employee on the quantity and quality of work that they spat out and pay them based on that? So now what we say is we pay for the individual's performance. Here's our because, and we articulate it: in order to get better work from employees, it's necessary to pay for individual performance because the best people come and stay for pay commensurate to their extraordinary performance. Second reason, in order to get better work from employees, it's necessary to pay for individual performance because the worst people are paid so little, they're forced to find jobs elsewhere if we don't fire them. This is why capitalism works so well. People are free to work as hard as they like, and the company pays each fairly. And besides ensuring the right people are on the bus, the wrong people are off. And there's another assumption here. I'll put it up on top. Accountability is crucial. So people understand what performance means. Managers can't tell them every move to make. It slows things down too much. And we say in order to get better work from employees, it's necessary to pay for individual performance because it focuses people on results and keeps them accountable. So great, we're all done. That also guarantees financial performance. Seems like we're almost done. We just need to clarify our assumptions underlying the last arrow. Here it is. Every company that used a performance pay system immediately got improved and lasting financial results. Wait a minute. That assumption is bogus. Some only improved temporarily, some got worse results, and all experienced negative ramifications. Oh, now I'm talking against myself. If this assumption is false, it forces us to remove the causal arrow. So there it goes. Let's explore the negative ramifications one by one. In other words, these are jeopardies, reason why we can't pay for individual performance in order to get improved financial performance. So it results in employees competing with each other. As ever better performers are found and developed, what used to be considered good performance becomes unacceptable. There's not unlimited money here. Employees are force ranked and paid accordingly, or like Jack Welch did, the rank and yank, the bottom 10% go away every year. There's no relaxing in that environment. It's a high-stress, pressure cooker type of environment. People burn up, burn out. Literally, employees are paid to work against each other. Having to worry about the knife in your back means burnout and turnover, as I said. Employees spend much of their lives at work, and two of their most basic needs are safety and social interaction. To meet those basic needs, there must first be trust. When it's dog-eat-dog, employees no longer want to work together. Employees focus on local metrics and are distracted from global performance. While they remain strong enough to survive, employees focus on the local metrics that determine their pay. This leads to further misalignments. Let me share Fred Kaufman's soccer analogy to explain. Fred's a brilliant theoretical economist and philosopher. I'm going to show a video from him in a second, but brilliant guy, MIT professor, and just a brilliant fellow. Here's what he says. Under a pay-for-performance system, a simple system like the offense and the defense of a soccer team, the offense is paid to score goals. The defense is paid inversely proportional to the goals they give up, that they allow. So as long as a team wins by some number of goals to zero, in other words, they never let their opponent score, the offense and the defense remain aligned. And this is the way with pay for performance, right? They get paid and they work together. This is what we wanted. This is what we had in mind. This is why we drew the arrow between pay for performance and improved financial performance. However, there are plenty of situations like when the defense gets paid more to lose 0 to 1, than they do if the team wins 5-4, because the defense let 4 goals in the win, but only allowed 1 goal in the loss. So that got them paid more to lose. Similarly, the offense gets paid more to lose 5-6 than they do to win 1-0. Since they scored 5 times as many goals, the bonus might be 5 times as great. Wow. So now, in other words, we paid extra money to misalign the offense and the defense. Tell me how you measure me, as Ellie Goldrat used to say, and I'll tell you how I behave. Even the smallest company is far more complexly interrelated than a soccer team. No chance for alignment and good global performance in a much more complicated, interconnected, dependent system. And results in overutilization, less capacity to buffer against uncertainty or to seize opportunities when they come by, particularly opportunities we didn't anticipate. And lastly, the internal competition results in people doing anything they can to even slightly improve their own performance. And such a team, I claim, is vulnerable. They lose free capacity to capitalize on opportunities, and they become ill-prepared for unforeseeable, random, and competitive shocks to the company. So it delivers worse outcomes. So we definitely can't pay for individual performance. At least 24 studies over the last 3 decades have conclusively shown that people who expect a reward simply perform worse. Alfie Kahn did this in a Harvard Business Review article from September and October 1993. So when you make it about money, people think about the money. This is my interpretation of this. They think about the money and they don't think about doing the work anymore. And so, not surprisingly, they don't do the work as well. So we've got to take a different action to ensure the company performs in a more synchronized way. Synchronization is important. How about this? We pay on global performance. Everybody's incented to work together. Isn't it fantastic? So in order to improve the financial performance of the company, it's necessary to pay on global performance because it aligns the employees to think about the company first and deliver globally. In order to improve financial performance, it's necessary to pay on global performance because it puts everybody on the same team, so they want to cooperate. And in order to improve on financial performance, it's necessary to pay on global performance because it pools the risk of adverse outcomes in some local areas with uncertain initiatives. So people don't like risk, and Fred Kaufman explains this well in one of his videos that are out on YouTube that he did to LinkedIn. There's parts 1, 2, and 3. We're going to look at part 2 here in a minute, but part 1 explains this very, very clearly. Okay, what if we just move to global pay? Does that jeopardize getting better work from employees? Well, let's check that. Well, I claim it does, and here's how. When pay no longer depends on performance, it doesn't take long before folks realize they get paid the same even when they call in sick. One person calls in sick. To keep it fair, the other people do too. Good workers don't like to carry the slackers, so they leave, and inevitably the company's workforce collapses. Ow. Have you noticed that there's no way to pay for both local performance and pay on global performance? For example, if you pay a salary based on local performance and a bonus based on global performance, every one of the jeopardies I've just mentioned still exists. You limited it some, but it still exists. You still have the adverse selection. You still have the everything that we were talking about before, the lack of accountability. You know, the slackers still get paid the bonus, right? Nobody likes that. It's not fair. I don't appreciate that. I made more contribution than he did. Here are all those jeopardies back on the screen again for you to take a look at. And again, let's clean up these assumptions. We know them all too well. We've been living this our entire adult careers, and maybe even our careers before we were adults. So, the blue and red actions are mutually exclusive. For one person, we can't do both at different times without mitigating our needs. This is what we call a true conflict. So I'm going to put the conflict arrow in over here so that you can see here. That shows that these two things don't play nicely together. Now, why is it a conflict? We got a because for that too. It's impossible to pay for local and pay on global performance because any blend of the two alternatives results in compromise which dilutes both potential results. And if you want a better explanation than this, watch Fred Kaufman talk about it himself. He's got a 14-minute video. This is the middle one, part 2 of a set of 3. You can see that right over here, part 2 of 3. Anyway, I'll leave you to watch this, and I'll be back.